Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. So I'm going to Scott Selections here for Saturday, November 13th. Before we get into today's play of the day, quick recap of what you so we had a nice winner with Auburn minus 24.5 at minus 110 on BetMGM as it ended up winning by 28 points. Wasn't easy. Auburn actually trailed by 2 at the half and outscored UL Monroe by 30 in the second half. I know that it might seem like it was extremely lucky. However, my question for you is if UL Monroe has played 4 halves, they've been outscored by 30 plus in 3 of those halves. Was Auburn lucky to destroy him in the second half, or was UL Monroe lucky to be leading after a half? I'm going to go with the first option, but Auburn woke up and they killed this UL Monroe team that they should have killed in the first place and ended up covering. So, nice win for us. Look for another winner here on Saturday. But, of course, since the UFC was so profitable to us last week, it's time to go back to the UFC and talk about the Holloway and Rodríguez card. I have 2 fights that I like, both on the main card, and I'm going to go through them right now. Starting off with the early fight in the main card. It's going to be a matchup between Song Yadong and Julio Arce. And for this fight, I like Song Yadong by decision at plus 145 on FanDuel. Time recording of 4:20 a.m. Eastern Time. Couple reasons why I like Song Yadong in the spot. First of all, in my opinion, I think Song Yadong is the most underrated striker in the entire UFC. The guy's really, really technical and he's extremely sound. Now, the power might not necessarily be there, but you have to keep in mind his technique is virtually flawless. His timing is fantastic, and he's extremely solid at really making his opponents pay for any mistakes whatsoever in the stand-up, which we ended up seeing in the Casey Kenny fight, where he really just dominated. That was a very impressive showing. I like Kenny. I think he's a good fighter, and he definitely improved in his own stand-up, and yet you could tell from the get-go there was a huge class difference there when it came to striking. Yadong is very good, and I think that Arce is kind of in the same boat that Kenny was. He was a guy who used to be average at best. Now I'd say he's slightly above average. I don't think he's a bad striker by any means, but Song Yadong definitely is the better one, and I do think this fight should be 15 minutes of stand-up. I don't see many takedown attempts taking place. Both these guys aren't really afraid of really challenging each other on the feet, and if that's the case, I got to take the better stand-up guy, especially at plus price to win by decision. Arce has a pretty good chin. He's never been knocked out in his career. And to go through the actual numbers for these fighters, 6 of Yadong's last 7 fights have gone to decision, and Yadong is 5-1-1 in those 6. Arce's been in 21 career MMA fights. 10 of them have gone to decision. And as I mentioned before, Arce's never been knocked out. So for me, in a stand-up battle between 2 guys who should really not like to take it to the ground, Song Yadong can actually if he wants to. I don't think he's going to. But in a matchup between 2 guys that should be standing in front of each other for most of the time, I'm going to take the better striker at plus 145 to win by decision. And that's going to take us to the main event. Looking at Max Holloway and Yair Rodríguez, this fight would have been a lot closer based on odds about, 3 years ago or so. But now Holloway is a minus 700 favorite. As you know, when you see a guy who's that big of a favorite, my strategy is to find exact outcomes and trying to find ways to get nice plus price returns instead of laying huge amounts of juice on a guy who's projected to win the fight rather handily. So I got 3 props. I'm going to go with half a unit on Holloway to win by 3rd round knockout at 11-1 on DraftKings. I'm going to put half a unit on Holloway to win by 4th round knockout at 18-1 on DraftKings. And last but not least, I'm going to put 0.45 units on Holloway to win by 5th round knockout at 25-1 on DraftKings. And you might be wondering why I'm going a little bit less on the 5th round. It's easily because of the fact that if Yadong wins, we're up 1.45 units. So, in other words, if Yadong wins by decision, then we are officially free-rolling the main event with a shot at a very nice plus price return if Holloway gets the knockout in the 3rd round, 4th round, or 5th round. But now to go to my logic as to why I like Holloway to win by a knockout, but maybe not as quickly as some people might think. Holloway, in my opinion, top 3 striker in the entire UFC, in the entire MMA as a whole. You can make an argument with the likes of Adesanya. I would put Peter Yan in there for top 3, but Holloway is somewhere. He's an all-time great striker. And he had arguably his best performance of his entire career against Calvin Kattar in his last fight. He landed a UFC record 445 significant strikes, which sounds almost impossible. It was absolutely nuts. I think the crazier part, honestly, was the fact that Kattar's corner didn't throw in the towel and that the fight actually went to decision, which was insane. They could have stopped the fight in the third round, fourth round, fifth round, in between rounds, could have done anything. And yet the point is, Holloway really seems to be in the peak of his prime. He's really just been picking opponents apart. You can make an argument he should be champion because a lot of people think he got hosed out of that second fight against Volkanovski where he lost by a controversial split decision. But the point is, he's a great stand-up fighter. And the thing about Holloway is that his power might not be, I'd say, that noticeable, but it's the volume. The volume's crazy, and I do think that Rodríguez is going to struggle dealing with that because of the fact that he has not fought since October 2019. Whether that involved injuries, whether that involved him running away from drug tests, a couple of reasons why, but the point is, I do think ring rust might play a factor here, especially with Rodríguez's gas tank. I have some concerns that even though he is dangerous on the feet, how he's going to look as the rounds continue to pile up on him and his body, and I do think that eventually he's going to wear down because of Holloway's relentless pressure, which is why this is a really bad matchup for Rodríguez, especially his first fight in about 2 years. It would have been good if he had a fight, I'd say, before this one to help, him get a little bit back on track, but he does have a decent chin. Rodríguez has been knocked out twice in his MMA career. However, one happened a long time ago, about 2012. The other one happened by doctor stoppage in the corner. So he's not really the kind of guy who's going to fully throw in the towel. He seems to be the kind of guy who, at least when he was in his prime or when he was actively fighting, would really leave it all in the ring. You saw that with his ridiculous fifth-round knockout against the Korean Zombie. I do think that he will have some success in the stand-up, not much, but we know that he's a very dangerous kicker. We know he's got some knockout potential. I do think Holloway will be aggressive, but also a little bit cautious during the early going, as he, I'm sure, is aware that Rodríguez's gas tank will most likely not hold up for 25 minutes. So do I think that Rodríguez is going to survive the entire fight? No. I think he's going to get knocked out. If you want to be safe, take Holloway by knockout at around plus 125. I don't hate that. But I do think that Rodríguez will do enough in terms of just stand-up, leg kicking, and keeping distance to at least get through the first 10 minutes before you will see some serious signs of fatigue. But for me, I think that you can find a lot of value at a minus 700 favorite by just taking some exact round type of bets here. So once again, my 3 picks for that Holloway fight are going to be Holloway third-round knockout, Holloway fourth-round knockout, and Holloway fifth-round knockout. So once again, to go through the 4 plays that I have on the card, I'm going to have 1 unit on Sung Yadong to win by decision at plus 145 on FanDuel against Julio Arce. And for the main event, I got half a unit on Holloway by third-round knockout at plus 1,100 on DraftKings. I have half a unit on Holloway by fourth-round knockout at plus 1,800 on DraftKings. And I got 0.45 units on Holloway to win by fifth-round knockout at plus 2,500 on DraftKings. But that has been this installment of Scott Selections here for Saturday, November 13th. Bye, everyone.